Hey guys, it's your brother Ken. Welcome back to Ken's Cinema Sofa. I'm so glad you're here. If it's your first time, I'm a missionary of 12 years in Tokyo, Japan, serving as a Bible teacher and preacher. This channel is all about exploring my other passion, awesome cinema. That's right. Tonight, we're going to get into the Robert Eggers film, The Northman. That's right. We're jumping up back on the Eggers bandwagon, man. 2 weeks ago was a blast. Wow, what a crazy film, The Witch. These A24 productions are awesome, man. The Green Knight and The Witch. And now we're going to be watching The Northman. I really appreciate the balance between high production value and these very artistic, creative choices, like using antiquated English that really transports us back in time to these eras that these stories are taking place in. Many mainstream production companies would not make that choice to have the whole film shot like that, with everyone speaking that, old or Middle English. It wasn't Middle English. If it was Middle English, it would be much more difficult to understand. It was Old English. Yeah, it's exciting, and so I'm excited for The Northman. I don't know much about it, except that it is a Viking tale, and I've heard it might be based on one of the old Icelandic sagas, Viking sagas. I know Alexander Skarsgård is the star. I believe Ethan Hawke is in it as well. We saw him last week in First Reformed, another great A24 film. What can I say? I feel almost like I'm watching a documentary when I watch these films. And I love it because I'm all about historical research. I'm all about truth and researching facts. And I love that, even in my theological training and even in my preaching and teaching, I pepper my ministry with biblical archaeology and things like that. Speaking of which, some of you have been asking me whether or not I have another channel with more Bible oriented content. There is a channel on its way, my channel Frontiers Nova, which is an extension of the blog that I've operated for 7 years, where I explore ministry and Bible archaeological treasures and all of that. You can go to the link down below to my website, Frontiers Nova, and so I'm in the process of bringing that to YouTube. But in the meantime, you can go to the link down below, the Amazon link, and check out my book, Let There Be Light, 50 Tough Bible Questions, 50 Illuminating Answers. I spent about 8 months researching and interviewing young Japanese and old Japanese, just anyone that I ran into, and asking them the most difficult Bible questions. And I spent that time researching and answering them and illustrating it as well. So you can get an ebook or a paperback from the links down below. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to it. Robert Eggers, Alexander Skarsgård, The Northman. Let's do it.
Hear me, Odin, all-father of the gods. Hear of a prince's vengeance quenched at the fiery gates of hell, destined for Valhalla.
Valhalla, the Norse version of heaven. Oh, I like this. Okay, I thought that was the title. I was like, this movie is not called The North Atlantic.
He's here.
Man, what it must have been like to live in these times where you're happy to see your father come home instead of, he's been gone for, all day just working. He's been gone for a year. Can't wait to see him. So Nicole Kidman is in this too, eh? Man, I want to know, who is the cinematographer for these A24 films, man? They just have a rich ornateness to them, but still raw. It's interesting to me how different this is from historical films from like 60, 70 years ago. All the action and everything, all the music sounded the same. Trumpets and... They didn't care to be ethnically sensitive to what music they used, what instruments they used like they do now, And I really appreciate this. Not knocking classic films, but just saying.
A father never grows too old for a good smothering. I missed you, my son. This was worn round the prince's neck when I found it, where it always was my love.
Thank you, Father.
What is this guy's name? His name is Klaes Bang. He plays in the Dracula series, right? The new one, BBC.
Furnish this fierce-hearted slayer of men with some drink, that I might drink to him.
Look how the queen's cup grows wet for more men than her king.
Is that Willem Dafoe? You know what? I'm sorry. Willem Dafoe, why is this dude always crazy? Everything he plays in. He enjoys it. That's an actor, man.
You have not seen your queen in a season. Let me take you to her bed.
No.
Man, look at the lighting in here. The embers floating, just beautiful. It's interesting to watch, something like Marvel. I'm a big Marvel fan. And the way that they portray Viking culture. Asgard, where, the gods, the Viking Norse gods come from. And it's so lighthearted and, vibrant and optimistic and, yet historically, this is what we're dealing with. This is what it was like. The Viking culture was bent on conquest, blood.
And you, little cub, what are you?
You must avenge me or forever live in shame.
I will, Father.
That's interesting because by this exchange, there will be an endless cycle of violence, and their culture welcomes that because somebody in their lifestyle of conquest, someone is going to kill them. And they're making him take an oath to avenge that killing. Okay, are these past warriors? This is a very interesting choice to portray this in a unsettling, less desirable way. Other films, and I'm sure even their stories of fallen soldiers and warriors who fell in war and battle in the past, in another movie, they would have showcased them in a, heroic way, with their flesh intact and, in a desirable way, this lifestyle to die in battle. But this was very haunting in its realism. Oh, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen. That was just too pure. It's so interesting to see armor on Vikings rather than the TV show. Who is this? I bet it's his uncle.
You behold your brother's gaze in amazement. Pity you never paid a bastard's eyes heed before.
You get so much backstory in such a short, solemn moment. Biblically, this is the very reason why God said to Israel when he first brought them out of Egypt using Moses, and they said that we want a king like the other nations. He said, no, just follow me, follow my spirit in the wilderness. If you take a king, your human king is going to take your sons and your daughters, send them to war on his behalf. If you have a human king, he'll have many wives, right? And God warned when they did, finally, they wouldn't give in to the Lord's suggestions and his wisdom. God told them, hey, it is not good for a king to have many wives because it'll tear the family apart. It'll tear kingdoms apart. Who is this? Oh, shoot! Well, he is his father's son. Man, are they already slaughtering everybody? But this is what happened with King David. He had children from different marriages and different concubines and wives. And he started to have what they would call bastards. And that creates hatred and jealousy in the family. And God foresaw all of that.
Little boy, he's dead. Dead.
in the sea.
He's lying.
Tight like a stone.
Oh. I'm sorry. It's just like, that's how I look when I have, like, you know, an itchy nose or something. But it's hilarious to me that they would equate that feeling to that. I don't know.
I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fiona.
Wow, so he's going off on his own in a boat. Just paddling away at that age. Okay, that's him on the right, I believe. Yeah. That's a very interesting camera technique and method choice right there, right? I don't know why I'm bobbing back and forth. I just feel like, I mean, oh man, dude. So this is, yeah, man, the disregard for human life is high. Transform your skin, brothers. Slaughter wolves, berserkers become... so these are berserkers, huh? Okay, so he became a berserker. These guys, yeah, I believe that they took... It's thought that they may have taken certain drugs to kind of enter this berserk state, and it actually would cause their them to, you know, enhance their physical abilities. Ooh. Oh, dude, this is intense, man. Eggers, you crazy man. I'm wondering if he still retains some of that, just a glimmer of that moral compass in him that remembers what it was like when it happened to him, right?
Sail upon.
Is that Bjork?
Island in the north.
Yeah, that's Bjork. She might as well be at one of her concert performances dressed like that, but I like that she's in this because she is Icelandic, I believe. So is she a witch or a goddess? She was in front of an idol, so I figured there are stories from India of Kali, the black mother goddess, appearing behind statues of those that are worshiping her, like a shadowy figure of her standing behind it.
Why are his slaves bound for Iceland? Fiona rules over Rhapsody.
After King Harald of Norway took his kingdom, Fiona killed his brother for nothing. Now he's a sheep farmer.
Sheep farmer. Are they talking about the guy that killed his father? All of that he did and he just became a sheep farmer? He gonna try to become a slave so he can get close to
Worry
him?
not. When I meet your owner, I will thank him for the warmth you gave me.
Is that Anna Taylor-Joy? So she's on the A24 bandwagon now, huh? Because she was just amazing in The Witch.
Your sheep's clothing does not disguise you, Northman.
What say you, spell speaker?
You wish to be a slave. Hide your cunning.
Viking sword with the runes. Is that tree supposed to be, what is it, Yggdrasil? The tree, was it like Tree of Life? I know in Marvel stores, the Tree of the Nine Realms. Oh! Oh shoot! I should have known. A story beat like that, guy getting his nose cut off and he doesn't die, he's gonna come back later in the story.
You're there, my lord. Your shipment is here.
Let me see this one.
Never look me in the eye, slave.
By name alone, you can tell he's as strong as a bear. If you're as untrustworthy as a wolf, I swear I'll put you down myself.
If you're as untrustworthy as a wolf, it's like I don't know, I feel like, he doesn't know him, but does he know who he is? If you are the son of my brother, right? Because they had that whole wolf dynamic, that whole mythology that they were into.
And her, too, keep her arms white. And her hair long.
Yep, that's his mom. Oh, man. That is crazy, man. To see your mom braiding the hair, brushing the hair of the guy that killed your dad. So it's like is that supposed to be the spirit of his father guiding him through different animals?
An old fool.
Ah.
Fjölnir cut out his tongue.
Oh, Willem.
Plucked out his eyes before killing him.
Hello, puppy.
I seek the weapon the Norns of fate chose for my revenge.
Hear me. Forged by the deadliest warsmiths ever.
Whoa! So he's buried down there, looks like in a Viking ship. Man. He may be dead, but he remembers those tactics, man. You know how to throw them hands.
It was foretold that I would slay my father's killer in a burning lake.
This film feels like a Viking Norse poem or saga.
What of your mother?
She will revel in Fjolnir's anguish. She only feigns her love to protect their child. I will bring the boy if I must.
Look me in the eyes, slave. I ask you, do you know how
Now
to
it's
fight?
okay. That just shows how tall Alexander Skarsgård is, man. Because I'm pretty sure this is the mountain from Game of Thrones. Now he's on the field.
Did we win?
As a reward for winning us the game, I'll let you choose a woman for yourself. But know that we will never make you a free man. The stench of a low-born slave cannot escape him.
It's interesting to me. In the Gospels, in Christianity, it says in the Gospels that Jesus, anyone that accepts him, is made a son of God, is made able to sit and eat at the table with the Lord. Actually, in the first century Christianity, many slave owners that were Christian and their slaves were Christian, when they would meet together in secret as Christians, the slaves would actually be equal or higher in their position in the church because they maybe were bishops or whatever. And so the Apostle Paul wrote a letter called Philemon about this, that there was a Christian slave owner and that his slave ran away. And he said, I hope that you will receive him as a brother, no longer as a slave. Oh my God.
Look, Father! Look what has been done to my brave friend! Christian monsters! Monsters! Ah!
Because they were from Rus. So Christianity had spread to the Russian or the Rus region by then. Ah.
Could it be the Christian swines? Their God is a corpse.
Ah. Speaking of Jesus. It's hard to tell because by this time, Christianity had become intertwined with politics and through the Holy Roman Empire and all of that. A sort of Christianity spread off and branched off away from the kingdom of Christ, right? The ways of Christ, the teachings of Christ. Jesus made it very clear, my kingdom is not of the earth. if it was of this earth, don't you think my followers would stop me from being crucified? Whenever people try to say, oh, Christians did this and that, no. If they didn't follow the ways of the manifested Son of God and the teaching of his about the kingdom and culture of God, they cannot be called Christians.
Your sword is long.
I am your son. To free you.
I see you have inherited your father's simpleness.
Uh-oh.
I never mourned him.
You are his queen.
Your father endured me.
No.
His affections were only for silver and rotting his horse.
I knew it.
I know not if he had yet his brother. His fine brother. A bastard has no shame of himself. I never began as his bride.
Oh my God, this is heartbreaking. But man, it is so real. Was that her other son or?
I told you. It is my cursed son, Hamlet.
It's old man.
In the end, you're just like your father. Evil begets evil.
So is this, I'm just guessing, is this where the slaves follow their master in death? Yeah, that's what I thought. So maybe that was his slave girl, or there are a lot of cultures that have this, you know. One of the ancient queens of Japan, this is before that they were known as the Japanese as we know them now, from the Yayoi period. Her name was Queen Himiko. She was said to be a witch. The Chinese records refer to her as the Queen Witch, weather controlling of Japan. And when she died, there were several hundred slave girls of hers that were killed and joined her in the grave, you know. Oh no, so it is supposed to be a Valkyrie.
This is not Valhalla.
I did not carry you that far.
Are those his children
My
coming?
family's blood. My own blood is inside you. While Fjolnir lives, our children will never be saved.
I knew he was going to say that.
There is now a living thread that binds us.
We cannot escape our fate.
The cub you once hunted ate of your nose. Now the wolf is grown.
I don't want to see this. Oh! Your own son, wow. Oh my God. Thank you. Finally it came out. I can't remember. Did it come out several times before, or? Seems like that sword is only meant for vengeance. So I guess that's the reason he couldn't use it before. I don't know. I'm just thinking, as you know, this is just a cool fight, but at the same time, I'm just thinking of the history of human beings and human nature. How is it that we come to this? People are disenfranchised, mothers taken, raped, brothers from different mothers, different families, dynasties. It's just... shoe. Well, okay, guys, that was Robert Eggers' The Northman, and man, oh, there's another awesome, deep, cinematic offering. Like other A24 films, it also definitely has that rawness and richness that makes you feel as if you were back in time, that you had somehow taken a time machine and gone back to the era of the Vikings. And I feel like, it's a little bit more difficult to copy the way that they speak in ancient Viking times, because this is a time where, further back from the witches, that previous movie, the witches time period, which, we have more surviving texts of how people spoke back then, especially since it's in just an older form of English. Whereas with the Old Norse and Viking, you kind of have to translate that into English. And as I said, it's older as well. So I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I imagine that it would be more difficult to kind of resurrect that ancient style of speech, because we don't, speak, unless you're from Scandinavian countries, we don't speak Viking languages. And I'm not even sure if people from Scandinavia today speak the same languages as Vikings from over 1,000 years ago. But I appreciate the effort. Everything else about the production felt rich and genuine. I mean, it felt like they really researched the religiousness and the ways of talking and the oaths, and they don't expect. One of the things I love about it, and this is one of the things I loved about The Passion of the Christ as well, is they don't feel obligated to explain it all to you. And that makes it feel more real. Because if you were somehow to step into a time portal and found yourself back then in the periods where these movies take place, nobody's going to be there to explain to you what's happening. And so that's kind of the risk that these type of independent, more artistic films take by doing that. But it pays off for, those that are more inclined to these type of, historical experiences and, genuineness and rawness of the storytelling and the atmosphere. It just makes you feel like you time slipped, as they like to say in Japan. So I really love that. I love that. To be honest, the entire film felt like a berserker's, dream or vision or, drug-infused hallucination. We didn't know what was real, what was magical, or what was induced by whatever drugs that berserkers are said to have taken to kind of get into that berserker fury and rage that they become famous for. Like in the beginning of the movie when he had the wolf's mane on him and everything, and he was like eyes rolling up in his head, there are reports, historical documents that tell us those things are true, that they happened. That's what they were. So I wrote some things down, and first I want to say I really felt like this was a morality tale. It was a morality tale about morality. And once again, as I said earlier, I feel like this goes back to, it reminds me of the Garden of Eden, where Eve and Adam and Eve choose to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And when I was a boy studying the Bible, I always wondered what was wrong with that. The tree of good and evil. But it was only when I was older that I learned that it was called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then even more, I was like, okay, what's wrong with that? Well, the whole point is, as I explained in another video, is that if you are best friends with the creator of the entire universe, the world is brand new, fresh smells of this new planet, the stars and the atmosphere is so the clear to see. Nothing like today, this polluted world we live in. Fresh and awakened and brand new, and you're standing next to the one who made it and everything and you. And he says to you, hey, I've given you everything in this garden, everything in this world to satisfy you, to nourish you. Go out and cultivate the earth. And in the original Hebrew languages, it means to create culture. Don't just make trees and bushes to grow fruit and corn and stuff. That's part of culture. But basically God was saying, with me as the center, go forth, create culture. I heard one pastor say that God never created chairs or tables. He created trees. And he left it up to us with the gift of ingenuity and artistry and creativity, the essence of life that he breathed into humans when he made us. He left it to us to take up the other side of the partnership, because that's what we were meant to do. We were meant to be partners with God. He is the Lord, created everything, but he welcomed humans to step into his sacred space, into friendship with him, and together to make this world, but with him as the center. And so when Adam and Eve chose from the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, when the one who created all things was standing next to them, telling them not to, well, that meant that they were choosing to dictate this reality and the morality of this new reality for themselves. Why do I say all that? Well, because the Viking culture is or was one that was built on violence, death, and conquest. It was one that was built on letting the base instincts and appetites of the human nature run rampant for sensuality, for lust, for the accumulation of things, for greed, and for killing, for battle. When there is no God at the center, when the creator of the universe has been checked and put to the side, well, that means that morality is going to be in the eye of the beholder, everyone. No one sees themselves as the villain, okay? And I really feel that this movie was showcasing that. To Amleth, that was his father that was killed. And that makes sense. His father loved him and showed love to him. But from the very beginning, when I saw how he came back home, I didn't sense that kind of love for his wife. And I thought something was off from the very beginning. And when I heard her call and ask about, oh, your brother, where is he? He said, basically chill out. He's coming. He's on his way. And from that moment, I was like, okay, something's up. What's going on? So I thought that, okay, well, maybe it will be a simple case of she just was into his brother more than him, the whole King Arthur, Lancelot thing, But when the realization came later that she was actually unloved by him and that she was originally a slave as well, and that his brother was not simply brother, but half brother. And in ancient times, people, class was everything, so people were mistreated, neglected, words were spoken about them, against them, from since they were born. What is the point I'm making? Well, because we saw through the lens of Amleth and his love for his father and his father's love for him, we didn't clearly see. Our vision was fogged. We don't know what his father was actually like. I'm not okaying what his mother did, but I'm saying that we saw only one half of the story, and what he was doing was right in his eyes, avenging his father, and what his mother was doing and what she chose was right in her eyes. The thing that gets me and drives this point home is what I'm saying is that when the brother, Amleth's uncle, finds out that it's Amleth and he has him cornered with the blade, and he says, basically, you're your father's son. Evil begets evil, right? this is what he's calling evil to him, right? Now, when I think about it, the girl, he didn't rape her. He could have. When he went to go see the girl in the, talking about Anna Taylor-Joy, right? Her character. When he went to go see her, and, you know, he was going to have his way, but then she showed her blood and put the blood on his face. He could have killed her right there. He could have raped her and then killed her, but he didn't. He didn't touch her. So I'm not taking up for his uncle. In the movie, the way the story is led and geared for us, we are supposed to side with Amleth. But Amleth, he himself feels, which is, I think, the point of the film, when he finds this out about his mother and what his mother says and reveals about his father, he is struggling with this moral debate like we are as well. And I think even though he doesn't want to admit it, he's probably having to struggle with thoughts about who his father really was, what his father was. And we see it also earlier. He's seeing it and we're seeing it. This is the Viking life. When we first come back to Amleth, after he has become an adult and he's wearing the wolf getup, and they're running through, this village and killing everybody, right? And taking people. And the girl that he fell in love with, they were killing her people. And so the point is okay, as that was happening, he saw it. And there was a scene where he stopped and was looking at the barn or this house burning. And he was reminded of what he went through when he was a child. And that was the Viking life. And in the Viking mythology and the Viking culture, the more killing that you did, the more you were welcome into the afterlife, into Valhalla. So it says here that mythology, I'm reading an article from the History Channel, okay? Don't look at me like that. I told you I'm not a master of, Viking mythology and history, okay? I know some stuff. My thing is biblical history, okay? Ancient Mesopotamia. Don't start. It says here, mythology describes how female Valkyrie would greet fallen Viking warriors and lead the boldest to a glorious afterlife. So this goes back once again to the problem of morality. Obviously, the Vikings fought more fiercely on the battlefield, that's what this article is saying, because of the promise of a glorious afterlife being carried to the halls of Valhalla because of how many people they killed or how courageous they were on the battlefield. But what were they doing? They were going into other people's lands and murdering them. I talked earlier about the first Viking raids under Ragnar Lothbrok, where they went into the monasteries on the islands near what is now England, and they slaughtered many monks. These are men, holy men. Even if you're not a believer in Christianity, these were men of peace, and they were slaughtered. Gold and precious relics, Christian relics, was carried off, back to not Valhalla, but Viking lands as precious treasure. So what's going on here? Well, there's a cycle of violence. Violence begets violence. Evil begets evil. It's ironic that the uncle said that, and yet he's part of the same chain. And so that leads me back to the idea of this thread. In the movie, they were talking about a thread. They kept talking about threads and breaking threads. And okay, Amleth may have seen it as the thread of what he was bound by, the oath that he took to avenge his father, right? This is in the beginning of the movie as a child. But I see it as the chain, the thread of violence. And I think that Anna Taylor-Joy's character was alluding to that as well, because she was speaking of a new thread of life, right? But Amleth was born and by blood and took that blood oath, and then literally later on by his father's own spilling of blood in his murder, Amleth was now part of that thread and he couldn't escape it. In a way, biblically, what the Bible teaches is that the entire human race is connected by that thread of sin, of killing of your brother, which is, every other human. The Bible teaches that all humans are related. We all come from the same father. If you want to talk about an all-father, human all-father, it would be Adam. Adam and Eve are the parents of the entire human race. And I'm sure that they've cried tears in heaven. I don't know if they do. I don't know if they do cry tears in heaven, but the fact is that their children we're killing each other. That's been human history. You can say that, that was just the Viking culture, right? That was their culture. You shouldn't judge their culture. Well, the problem is when your culture teaches that it's okay to cross the seas into another culture and take the lives and rape the women of people from another culture, that's a problem. See, that's the issue, guys. We all live on the same planet. And that's what's happening in the Ukraine right now. I want your land. We don't recognize you as a country. We want your land back with our land. And we're willing to kill and drop bombs to do that. I'm not saying that it's just the Ukraine. I'm not saying that there's no other country that's guilty or not guilty. The Bible teaches that all humanity has fallen short of the glory and the grace of our Father in heaven, God, the first community, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They're the first community, the first family, and they're all united. It's beautiful. Theologically, we learn that the word common grace, and common grace grants sentience in life, in the world, beautiful weather, intelligence, artistry, the ability to understand morality. All of these things, though they're not saving grace and will not save us from eternal death, only God's Son can do that, and belief in His Son. But common grace does allow us the ability to understand and feel saving grace so that we can choose it. And so common grace, one of the elements of common grace is the family and the family unit and the ability for people to come and make love and children and have a group of like-minded people together to make a family, to make a neighborhood, to make a society, to make a city-state, to make a country. That all comes from what we know in theological circles as common grace. What sin did in the world is that it caused humans to be nearsighted and not be able to see and sense that common grace so clearly anymore. And that we began to kill our own brothers. Began with Cain killing his brother Abel. And then it goes on into one nation killing the other nation because they don't even respect each other as brothers. Or maybe they don't even remember that a century ago, we came from the same fathers. So that carries forth into the Viking Age. People have their own idea, yet we all live on the same planet. And yet we're not able to respect each other. And it's very difficult to, because when you all have a different lenses, when we're all seeing reality through different glasses, through different lenses, we all have different beliefs and different cultures. And some cultures are going to teach that it's okay to turn the other cheek when someone strikes you. And then there are going to be other cultures that teach the more you kill, the more you're going to be welcomed into heaven, right? So that, guys, I'm always thinking more broadly, right? But let's come back home. That is what this movie is about, is morality. Right and wrong is in the eye of the beholder, right? Interesting. Well, guys, that's all I have for you tonight. That was The Northman by Robert Eggers. I feel like there's a lot more that I'm going to have to say when I sleep on it, but that's all you get for this video. I'm not going to do a part 2. Maybe a couple years from now, I'll do I'll revisit it and do a commentary, more in-depth commentary. For now, that's it. God bless you wherever you may be. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And God bless you. And yeah, come back next time. Join me on the sofa as we continue our journey through cinematic wonderlands. Bless you wherever you are in the world.